All right, homies. You guys have been asking me to do this video for the last 5 years of my life. And I don't know what's been wrong with me up until this point, but I'm finally gonna do it. We are gonna look at some spooky animations. Wansee Entertainment. Lola found this channel and said that I should react to this. Unfortunately, Lola's not here to watch this with me because she's at a golf tournament. Hello.
Hello.
What made you want to show us this channel?
Oh, I really wanted you to react to scary stories.
Yeah, but why? Why?
Because I wanted to see you get scared.
Okay. All right, there you go. But these guys make horror story animations. And we are going to check out some of their essential viewing. 10 million people have seen these spooky stories, so we have to see them. Felix, do you think we're going to have a good recording? Yeah! You do?
Yes.
You think this is going to be the illest and realest recording ever?
Yes!
Good, okay, thank you. Felix said so, boop like for Felix. And you know what, guys? It's a special occasion, so I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna drop it. If you're an OG RobertIDK fan, you know this. And to anyone who doesn't know, welcome aboard. We can't watch a spooky video without checking out the very special I Am a Wimp theme song.
What do you do when you're easily spooked and everything is scary? Torture yourself with clips from YouTube or call your best friend Gary. So grab some popcorn and just enjoy the ride because RobertIDK's a wimp.
The Shabby apartment.
I am in my mid-40s. This is what happened nearly 20 years ago.
Okay.
One day, I visited one of my friends at his apartment, which was very old and shabby.
That's mean.
There was an entrance to an elevator in the center of the corridor. I can't remember well, but my friend lived in unit 701 or 801 on the 7th or 8th floor.
Okay.
So looking at
You could have just told us it was the 7th. You didn't need to say all that. You didn't need to. It's about 7 floors up. That's all you needed to say.
So looking at the apartment building from outside the main entrance, his house was on the far left end.
Okay.
One summer day, my friend said he was alone and didn't have any plans. So we called 2 of our friends and had a drinking party.
A drinking party,
The 4 of us
wow.
had been drinking since the early evening, and just before passing out, we all lied on the floor, turned the lights off, and started talking. While talking to each other, a beam of...
The way this is being delivered is so funny. Like this guy, like, do you actually have any trauma from this event? Or do you have so much trauma that it's eliminated all emotion from your brain? This happened 20 years ago. It was the scariest moment of my entire life. But I hope you enjoy it. Make sure you comment on the video, like the video, and subscribe to hear more. I guess that's all YouTubers, isn't it? Just people with trauma who have nowhere else to turn.
While talking to each other, a beam of street light entered through the window and was shining on the ceiling. I guess the street lights on the first floor of the apartment complex were on. Of course, we were talking while gazing at the ceiling.
How was it going?
All of a sudden, the white ceiling turned black, as if something covered up the light.
Yeah.
At that moment, we looked out the window while crouching down.
Oh, no.
Someone with a creepy
What the
vibe was
heck?
hanging on a steel bar
What
outside
the-
the window.
What the heck?
Since the light was shining from behind that person,
How'd you get up there?
we could not see his face clearly. Then, after making an unidentifiable gesture, he smiled, showing his white teeth, and without making a sound.
White teeth, oh no.
We were
Can't
we stopped
imagine
talking.
can't imagine something more scary than white teeth. He showed us his terrifying white teeth and his horrific brown or blue or green eyes and his absolutely terrifying brown hair. There's a million ways you could have described this person to make him seem scarier.
Showing his white teeth, and without making a sound. We were so shocked at that moment that we stopped talking and were frozen with silence.
Yeah, scary.
Suddenly, one of us picked up an empty bottle of wine and ran toward the window shouting, "Kill that!"
Wow,
creepy guy
okay.
had disappeared. After a few minutes, we went out of the apartment to see where he had gone, but we could not find him.
Okay.
We could only hear his stomping footsteps and assumed he entered the corridor and went down the stairs.
Yeah, definitely
Going
chase
down
after
the
them.
stairs is the only way that stomping sound could be made. It sounded like he descended to the first floor and was walking around. So we followed down the stairs looking for him.
Are you actually
But quickly
trying to
returned
end
the
this thing's
apartment,
life?
Still filled with fear. At first, we thought it must have been a robber or some
You're like,
crazy
ha ha ha, that's so silly. I don't know if these are the facial expressions of people who have just gone through this type of experience. Is this really what your face is gonna look like? Anyways, guys, keep chilling at home. If he comes back, they made it super easy. You can just dial 911 and people will come and help. I don't think you should take that upon yourself.
We thought it must have been a robber or some crazy guy laughing in front of the window.
I
But
mean,
when we
probably.
came back to our friend's house, we were all shocked.
Yeah,
The
why'd you
distance
leave?
between the end of the corridor and the window of our friend's apartment was too long for someone hanging onto the steel window bar to jump across.
Yeah.
Only a crazy person would try and fall to their death.
Yeah.
Ordinary people can't even hold on to the steel bar.
It was a spooky monster.
We thought that maybe someone had committed by jumping from the roof of the apartment and cut the steel bar while falling. So we went down to the first floor to see if a body was there. But there wasn't a single trace.
There's a tail?
After that experience,
Oh, don't turn,
I
don't turn.
never visited his house again.
Oh.
I am a 19-year-old male.
Oh, that's the first story, I guess. Man, I was locked in. I was ready to hear any update from your friend. Did you just never talk to that friend again either? Like, yeah, sorry, dude. You have literal monsters at your house. I'm just going to delete my number, bro. Delete. Well, RIP to that friendship, I guess.
I am a 19-year-old male, and this happened many years ago when I was very young.
Okay.
To give you an idea of the layout of our house back then, the living room has multiple windows that directly look out
Oh
onto
boy,
the
the
back
windows
garden.
again.
There's a big gate in our driveway to stop anyone from getting in.
Oh,
Next to the living room is the kitchen, which also has more windows.
that's scary.
But also the back door. This will be relevant to this story. So my mother was
Okay, yeah. Yeah, just come out and tell us. Hey, this thing I'm telling you, this will be relevant to the story later. The windows, it will be relevant. Okay, thank you. Thank you, homie, for letting us know.
which also has more windows, but also the back door. This will be relevant to this story. So my mother was completing the household chores as she does one day.
As she does.
I was sitting in the living room watching television on the sofa with my back to the living room windows.
Watching television on the sofa.
All of a sudden, I saw a figure reflecting off of the picture frame
my
hanging
gosh,
on
and then
the
I looked
wall
at the
opposite
window.
the window.
The window.
I asked my mom if my dad was back from work,
Just turn
to
around,
which
bro.
she said no.
The window.
I'll never ever forget the look of horror on her face when I told her that yes, he was. He's in the garden. She looked outside the window and almost had a heart attack when she saw a scruffy-looking but fairly built man outside the living room
Scruffy
window.
looking, but fairly
This didn't
built.
seem to faze him at all, though. He psychotically smiled at my mother through the glass, and my mom asked him what he was doing on our property. He said nothing, with the same sadistic smirk on his face.
That same slightly built look on his face. Oh yeah, that same scruffy but fairly built look on his face. Absolutely petrifying.
She said that she was going to call the police, and
Get
what
him.
he said is one of the scariest things I've ever heard.
No, don't do
He
that.
screamed at my mother through the glass that if she even got her phone out, that he would break the glass. She did not know what to do. She paused and tried to rapidly think of
Okay,
what to do
spooky.
next,
That is spooky.
how to keep us both safe. She wanted to protect me by calling the police, but she also didn't want him
That's
to hurt me
spooky.
if she did try to call them.
Spooky.
As soon as he saw that she was terrified, he ran for the back door. Luckily,
Okay.
it was locked because my mom has always been a paranoid person, so she always locks the doors. He screamed at her to let him in, or if she didn't, he'd find a way in and kill us both. My mother told him to off, which enraged him, and he pulled out a pocket knife and began bashing hard against the windows. I was still oblivious to what was happening, as I just thought it was my dad. I was very young.
Dad plays silly games sometimes, doesn't he, Linus? That dad sure likes to play silly pranks, doesn't he, Linus? It's just a silly prank. It's just my dad being a silly prankster. But no, seems like a pretty fair deal. Hey, let me in or else I'll come in. It's like, bro, that's the same answer twice. It's the same thing twice. It's the same thing twice. This is why you need to be prepared for these situations, okay? The flashlight battery's dead.
I was still oblivious to what was happening, as I just thought it was my dad. I was very young.
It's my dad.
My mom frantically grabbed me, and I don't mean picked me up. She literally grabbed me off the sofa.
No way.
And booked it up the stairs. We were backing up in the upstairs hallway, looking for anywhere to hide, when my mom's younger brother popped out of his room with his headphones on. My mom didn't even realize he was home, and he clearly didn't hear the commotion downstairs because of his headphones.
Yeah, protect us!
My uncle was 25 at the time and was really well built. He's intimidated a lot of people.
So the other person is fairly built, but he is really well built. So he will win in a battle between the two builds.
My mom cried and told him that there's a guy who's trying to break in. While she's telling him this, that creepy lunatic screamed from downstairs that he was in the house. He said cynically, "Boogeyman is coming out to get you."
What the heck?
Which really freaked me out. It freaked me out so much that I actually remember that to this day.
Whoa.
Anyway, since the guy didn't know my uncle was home, he kept yelling and telling us to come out and that it wouldn't be painful. My uncle told us to lock ourselves in the bathroom and call the police.
Let's go.
We did, and after 5 minutes of groaning and blatant violence downstairs, the police stormed in and found my uncle on top of him, beating him mercilessly.
Oh no.
My uncle really didn't hold back. After that day, my mom was terrified to be home alone at the house. I loved it as a child because I found the running and hiding fun. Obviously because I was young. I can never thank my uncle enough for being there at the right time.
Oh my
when my
gosh!
mother clearly forgot that he was still home. It honestly gives me chills, wondering what he would have done to my mother and myself if my uncle was not there.
All right, well, that was a little bit darker. Yikes, okay. Well, I guess the moral to that story is always have Uncle Bill, who is well built at home, in case any terrifying monsters like that pull up, okay? True creepy pizza delivery stories.
I work at a pizza joint in Chicago, and I unfortunately have the responsibility of delivering pizzas, usually on the weekends, and usually at night. I've asked my boss for day shifts, but she seems to ignore my requests and give me whatever shifts I don't want the most.
I've been there, bro.
I know being a pizza delivery man is somewhat of a dangerous job, but I never imagined anything like what happened to me a few months ago could actually happen. There is this one customer that always calls in and acts strange as hell on the phone.
Hi, I'll get one silly pizza.
It was the most terrifying thing of my life. Excuse me? Do you have any barnacle sauce? I couldn't believe the horror. What a boring thing to... If you're a crazy person, could there be a more boring pastime than calling a pizza place and messing with them? Could there be a more boring thing to do as a crazy person?
Sometimes he will just hang up on you. Sometimes he'll order pizzas normally, but make crazy sounds while he does, and then hang up. We've always thought this guy was just an idiot.
Hi, I'll have one pepperoni. Yes, with that extra sauce. Yeah, thank you. $12.95. You'll be here in 15 minutes? Okay, perfect. Okay, yeah, that would be great. Awesome. Okay, thanks.
We've always thought this guy was just an idiot playing pranks. He would make really weird comments, too. Like, I want to order a large pizza with pineapples, mustard.
That's crazy.
Skin.
That's crazy.
I'll never forget that one. We usually just hang up on his now, and we always know it's him calling because his number is saved in our system.
Then
So
don't
he called
answer.
again a few months ago and ordered a pizza normally. No weird comments or sounds. And gave his address too. I thought it would be interesting to finally deliver to this guy.
Yeah,
and when I
pull
drove
up.
up to his house, it was something you'd see in a scary movie. An old as hell looking place right on the line where we don't deliver.
Whoa.
Not in the busy part of the city where most of our orders come in. The house looked like it was about 100 years old, and there were no lights on that I could see. I wasn't scared or anything, just looking forward to seeing what he looked like.
Wow,
When I
you're
went to the front
tough,
door,
bro.
I rang the bell, but it wasn't working.
You're brave.
So I knocked. I realized I forgot the guy's soda.
Oh
and thought
no,
he'd
he's
give
gonna.
me
Don't turn around.
for sure.
Don't turn around.
Or just freak out on
Don't turn
me.
around.
Nobody answered right away, so I knocked again on this big door. He opened up after that second
Oh,
time.
there you go. Okay.
He was wearing this weird-looking mask.
My name
around
is
his
Barnacle
mouth.
Bale.
Only his mouth. His eyes were opened wide, and I told him how much the pizza was, and that I was sorry I forgot the drink. He looked down, I think.
Where's
and
my
said,
drink?
It's okay, and then looked at me again. I stood there looking at him for like 5 seconds in silence when I got bored of him.
Is this my silly
and told
pizza?
him the amount again. He said okay, and then asked me, has anyone ever attacked me before? I told him no, and if they did, they'd be sorry.
Yeah.
He then took off his mask that was covering his mouth.
Oh
and he
no,
had
it's the
big
guy from the last
scars
one.
all around his mouth. I have no idea what they were from, and can't even imagine what they might have been from. But he looked seriously messed up. He
You
smiled
wanna
at
know
me
how
and
you wanna know how I got these scars?
If you know that reference, then you know the best superhero movie of all time. And congratulations. If you don't know it, then you're probably just younger than me, honestly.
Is it the scars? You wanna know how I got them? You wanna know how I got these scars?
Best superhero movie of all time. I'm just saying it. I'm sorry. No superhero movie has been as good as The Dark Knight. And I'm just keeping it real. I'm pretty sure that the reviews would say the same. Yep, there you go. There you go. Yep, highest rated superhero movies of all time. The Dark Knight, #1. There you go. Sorry, guys. It's the truth. I don't choose the rules. I just know what the greatest superhero movie of all time is, and so I just had to let you know. And by the way, people, if you're not subscribed to Wansee Entertainment, make sure you boop that button right now. You know what I'm saying? I just did, so you do it too.
he smiled at me and his lips were all cracked. I
That's
noticed
the
he
scariest
wasn't
part.
about to hand me some money, so I told him I was leaving. I turned around and
Take your
started
pizza
walking
and
down
go.
the steps, and he screamed at me and slammed the door. This was crazy, and I don't think any of his was to be funny.
Oh.
That final scream he gave me was creepy as hell, even though I kind of expected him to do something like that. He has called several times since then, and we always just tell him now that he is on our no delivery list.
Then
He
don't
usually
even
just
answer.
screams and hangs up, or cusses out whoever is on the phone.
Yeah, it's a little spooky. I'm gonna keep it real. That's a little spooky. I'm gonna keep it real. That's a little spooky. That's a little spooky. All right. That one was a little spooky. You're right. Man, there were some funny bits during that one. I'll keep it real.
Is it the scars? You wanna know how I got them? I didn't hit like on the RobertIDK video. And one day they just appeared on my face. And so I always tell everyone, if you're watching a RobertIDK video, you better hit the like, or else you'll end up like me.
Well, I guess you gotta hit like on my videos then when you watch them. I would really hate for that to happen.
I was on summer break and went camping with my friend and his parents.
That's really
We went
scary.
to the lake during the day and did the s'mores thing at night.
Did the s'mores.
His parents shared a tent while my friend and I had our own. I can't remember where the campsite was, and I'm not really in contact with my friend anymore.
Ooh,
But
why?
15 years later, I'm assuming it wasn't the safest place to camp.
Oh, no.
Here's why.
Oh, no.
I woke up sometime in the early morning, like 3 or 4 a.m., and immediately saw a man's face looking in the tent at us.
Oh my goodness.
He had unzipped the door just
Oh my
enough to
goodness.
stick his head inside. He looked absolutely insane.
Hello, Spooky
He
Show.
had big eyes and wild hair.
Hello,
I was
Spooky.
so stiff from fear, I literally couldn't do anything. The man kept moving his head from left to right, very, very slowly.
Scream!
As if it was uncontrollable. I guess my friend could hear me breathing loudly or something.
Dude, can you stop doing that? I can't sleep.
Too. He had the same reaction as me, and just
he
laid there in terror,
spooky.
looking at this mysterious man.
The spooky guy.
I'm not certain how long he was sitting there looking at us, but it felt like hours, shaking his head back and forth. At some point, we heard a noise close by, and so did the man. He disappeared quick.
Oh, no,
and a couple minutes later, we got out of our tent and woke up his parents. The guy was long gone. I'm still afraid of camping to this day.
That's so scary. That was the shortest story I've ever heard. I thought that was gonna be the last one, but that was done in like 5 seconds. Yeah, that story is a bit of what we call in the industry a nothing burger. We thought that we were going to get something epic, but instead we got something depic.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
We went camping and there was a spooky guy. Whoa! You know, so far that is kind of my review of these stories is I was just doing a thing that people do and then there was a spooky guy. I believe that's every story so far. The motel spooky guy.
A few years ago, I was driving from Texas to Louisiana to help my dad move.
Yeah, don't go there.
When I stopped at this tiny, crowded motel right off the highway.
Motel Normie.
It was very late at night, and it was the only option I could see. I don't remember the person who checked me in at all. I was so drowsy I could barely keep my eyes open. All I remember is sitting on the bed, kicking off my boots, and noticing that my room was connected to another room.
What?
I saw that the lock on that door was turned to the right, which looked like the locked position.
But it wasn't!
And I fell backwards and passed out on the bed.
And I woke up and there's a spooky guy.
At some point, I turned my body and laid on the bed fully. I don't remember when or how long
you woke up and there's a spooky
sleeping.
guy.
Then, I was awoken in the most terrifying way imaginable. A sharp object was stabbed into my back. I screamed and rolled off the bed. I looked and just barely caught a glimpse of what looked like a very skinny man with long, greasy hair run through the door that connected our rooms.
A spooky guy.
I was taken to the hospital after I ran into the parking lot screaming, and the paramedic removed a letter opener from my back. I never returned to the motel.
Good.
And I have no idea what happened or who it was.
Okay, well, at least in this one, something actually happened. It wasn't just there was a spooky guy. Man, he seemed spooky. Now, I'm not saying it's a good thing that the spooky guy in this one actually did something awful, but I mean, that's a story to write home about, you know? As they say, that story is something to write home about. That indeed was a true spooky guy. But even still, that one was insanely short. One more, we can see how long this one is. This one is long enough to end the video on. Okay, let's go. Grandmother's cottage. Oh no, oh my gosh, oh no.
When I was a little girl, my parents took me to visit my grandmother. She lived in a little village in the countryside.
Wait, what?
When I was a little girl.
Wait.
When I was a little girl.
Dude, that's a black dude. That is not a little white girl talking.
When I was a little girl.
What? Okay, I'm not there's no way I'm the only when I was a little girl, puberty 100. Dude, this girl just hit puberty. When I was a little girl, the deepest, most masculine voice I've ever heard. All right, okay, cool. So everyone's on the same page here. That doesn't, all right, cool. I'm glad I'm not the only one.
When I was a little girl.
When I was a little girl, my parents took me to visit my grandmother. She lived in a little village in the countryside.
Word.
Her cottage was very small and there was only one bedroom.
All right.
My grandmother slept in one bed. My parents slept in the other. And I had to sleep on some cushions on the floor. We stayed there for a few weeks and I was troubled by terrible nightmares.
I hear you, sister.
Every night, I would wake up screaming. My parents tried to calm me down and asked me what was wrong. All I could tell them was that there was a man coming to get me.
Could the creators of this channel not have like just could they just not find a female voice actor? Like because there hasn't been one in this whole thing. It's only been dudes. So I don't know. I just feel like maybe don't pick the voice actor with the deepest possible voice for this one. That's just what I was thinking. I don't know.
All I could tell them was that there was a man coming to get me.
Oh, okay.
I can still remember the cause of my terror. Every night, I saw a shadowy figure emerge from behind the curtains in the corner of the room. He was a pitch black
spooky
man.
Guy.
All I could make out was his silhouette.
And his white teeth, tall, the most horrifying thing.
I would watch in horror as he came crawling towards me. With a sickening slowness. He came up to me and he whispered something in my ear.
I'm a
and
spooky
just as
guy.
I was about to scream, he would place a finger against his lips.
You want to know how I got these white teeth? Crest white strips. Ooh. You want to know how I got these teeth? I brush them twice a day. I also make sure I floss, because that's equally important.
And just as I was about to scream, he would place a finger against his lips and whisper, shush, shush, shush.
Shush.
He tortured me every night to the point where I dreaded going to sleep. As time went on, he began to appear not only at night, but also during the day.
What?
One evening, we were all watching TV in the living room, and at some point,
it's a good show,
I
by the
happened
way.
to glance to my left. The curtain slowly drew back, and I saw the man standing there, staring silently at me. He raised his hand, put his finger to his lips, and whispered, shush, shush.
That looks
shush.
More like the narrator of this story.
I let out a horrified scream and immediately told my mother what I had seen.
That's how you do the twist here.
She got up and went over to the curtains.
Make the narrator be the scary guy.
Showing me that there was nothing there. But of course, by then, he had already disappeared. When the holiday was over, we went back to our apartment in the city and the nightmare stopped. After that, my grandmother would always come visit us.
So did you meet Crazy Larry when you were over here, Sonny?
Watch out for Crazy Larry.
Why don't you come by my house anymore, dear? Did you see Crazy Larry?
I don't know how to do an old person voice, I'm sorry.
Grandmother would always come visit us. So we never went to her cottage on a vacation again. As time went on, I stopped thinking about the man and eventually forgot about him altogether. One summer, when I was 13 years old and my little brother was 5 years old, we went to stay with my grandmother again. My parents were in the kitchen, having a cup of tea with my grandmother.
Okay.
They asked me to get my little brother ready for bed. When I was preparing a mattress on the floor for both.
When I was a little girl, they asked me, what is it like to not be a grown man? And when they asked me that, I thought, I don't know what you're talking about. I am a little white girl. Can you not tell by my voice?
When I was preparing a mattress on the floor for both of us to sleep on, my little brother was sitting on one of the beds. I noticed that he was being usually quiet. When I looked up, I saw that he was staring at something.
Whoa.
What's wrong? I asked. Then suddenly he jerked his head around and looked at me, his eyes wide with fear.
It's the spooky man.
He looked at me, pointing at the curtains.
It's the spooky man.
The shush man is standing there.
Yeah, this looks like the narrator.
Say, my brother and I spent the night sleeping in the kitchen, and we never went to visit my grandmother's cottage again.
Not the spooky man. Ah! Not the spooky man. Wow, that was one spooky man. Guys, did you enjoy that? Because if you did enjoy that, I have made a playlist of spooky favorites for you. Here are some of my favorite spooky videos that I've ever done. If you haven't watched these videos before, check out the playlist and you might discover a lot of stuff you really like. Here's Wansee Entertainment's channel. Make sure you're subscribed to them. They did all the hard work. We're just out here being silly. I'll see you in this playlist, or here's another video if you want to check it out. Peace out, people. Have a good one. Bye.